Now I'm going to start sewing, as you can see. So if you notice, the bridal satin I cut out is very wide, and this is because this is lace. I don't want, when I'm sewing it, I will now realize that the lace is shorter than the lace is longer than the bridal satin. So that's why I made enough room to actually contain the lace. Now I'll go ahead and sew this all round. So after I'm done doing that, the next thing I will still repeat the same process for the other cup. I'll go ahead and place this way. So I'm making sure that the bridal satin is under the back of the lace. So I will just go ahead and pin this down. So after I'm done sewing and cutting out the excess, I'll go ahead and join one of the smaller piece to one of the bigger piece, just like this. So just make sure you know the part that you're going to be sewing to, like when you join it together, the part that you're going to be sewing. Now after I'm done doing that, I went ahead to sew with 1/2 inch. I'm going to repeat the same process for the padded. I'm going to be joining the smaller piece of the padded to the bigger piece of the padded, just as you see me doing. I'll go ahead and sew with 1/2 inch. Now after I'm done doing that, I'll just go ahead and notch this out. So this is how it is, as you can see. Now I'm going to bring my padded as well that I've also sewed together. I'll place this on it. I'll place the material, that is the lace, on it this way, and then I will pin down. So when I'm pinning down, I'll make sure that I'm dragging it very well so it will lap properly. After doing that, I went ahead to sew all around, and this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do now is to start sewing the center front to the side front. Now I'm just removing the pattern paper, as you can see. Now I'm going to be placing it this way, but first of all I'm going to be attaching my bridal satin that I already have my stay on it. So I'll make sure I place the bridal satin underneath the back of the um lace itself. So after placing this the right way, I'll go ahead to sew round. Now after sewing round, I'm going to go ahead and place it this way, and then sew with 1/2 inch. So after I'm done sewing with 1/2 inch, this is what I have. So I'm going to turn it over to the back side of this front piece, and then I'm going to measure out 1.5 inch of the bridal satin, because I'm going to use this to create like a boning channel. So these are the places I'm going to be placing, creating the boning channels. Okay, now I'm going to also be using this my allowance here to create like a boning channel where I'm going to be passing the boning as well. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and start marking the lines where I'm going to be creating the boning channel. So just go ahead and use your chalk to create the line so that you have a straight line and where you're going to place the boning channel. Okay, now after I'm done doing this, I'll go ahead to start sewing the boning casing. Okay, now this is what I did. I folded the 1.5 inches bridal satin by 2, and then I'm going to sew straight, and then I will turn it to the other side, flip it this way, and then I top stitch on it. So I'll repeat it on the other side as well. Now after doing it, I've gone ahead to place my bonings inside. So what I did was I made sure 1 inch, it does not get to the upper side by 1 inch, and then the downside also by 1 inch. That is spaces where I can place the sleeve and also join it with the down part. And then this is how I did the casing, the boning, so that it will not like be like a discomfort to my client. Okay, so after doing that, I went ahead to just place this inside the boning channel. So after doing that, it's going to look a little bit puffy. Just go ahead, use your iron to flatten it. Okay, so this is what I mean. Just use your iron to flatten the boning. So after I'm done doing this, the next thing is to attach the cup to it. So I'm going to make sure the smaller part of the cup is going towards the middle part, while the bigger part of the cup is going towards the side. Okay, and then I'll pin from the joining part of the cup this way, as you can see, and I'll pin this all round. So I'll repeat the same process for the other cup as well. So if you notice how I place the cup, the joining of the cup is matching the joining of the side front and the center front together. So after I'm done pinning all around, I'll go ahead to sew with 1/2 inch all around. And then this is what I have after sewing with 1/2 inch all around. The next thing I'm going to do now is to place the yoke. So this is the front yoke. I didn't use lining to actually cover this up. Okay, now I'm going to place it this way, and then I'll go ahead and make sure I measure her armhole to her armhole. That is what I just measured, and after getting the measurement, I went ahead to place it this way. So I'm going to pin this down, and then I'll repeat the same thing for the other side as well. So after I'm done placing the yoke right, this is how it is. I'll go ahead to stitch it down, and then I'm going to be using my lining that I also sew the same way I sew the top piece, that is the front piece. Now I also attach my stay to the lining as well. So I'm going to be placing this right side facing the right side. So I'm just making sure the joining of the cup on the lining is matching the joining of the cup on the main fabric. Okay, then I will go ahead and pin this down. Now after pinning down, I'm going to sew it with 1/2 inch all around. So just make sure the joining of the lining is matching the joining of the lace or the fabric that you're using. Okay, so after pinning and sewing it with 1/2 inch all around, I went ahead to start notching the neck. Okay, I went ahead to start notching the neckline, and then I went ahead to close the two sides. So after closing the two sides, I've turned it to the front part, and now I'm using my hemming tape to just hem the neck line. So the lining part won't be showing at the front of the lace. So this is the reason why I'm using my hemming tape or hemming gum. You can see how lovely the neckline of this dress is looking after using the hemming gum. Now I'll go ahead to start sewing the back piece, and this is all for the front. Okay, now for the back piece, I'm just going to unpin the pattern paper, and then I'll notch the dart line and also the zipper allowance line as well. Okay, now so if you notice, I didn't make use of stay for the back piece. If you want to make use of stay for yours, it's totally fine. Okay, now I'll go ahead to start placing the back piece on the bridal satin. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and sew all around, and then for the yoke part, I'm just going to open this, and I will go ahead use my bias to pipe the neck side and also the back opening. So after I was done working on the back yoke. This is what I have. I just created like a rope where I'm going to be pinning the button to. Okay, I'll keep this aside. Now I've gone ahead to sew one side of the back piece complete, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Now this is the other side of the back piece, and here is the yoke of the other side as well. So I'm just going to place this way, right side facing right side. Okay, let me place it this way so it will be more understandable. Now after placing it that way, I just turn it like this, and then I'll pin this down. So make sure that you are placing the yoke closer to the armhole part. Okay, now after pinning this down in place, I'll place my lining right side facing right side, that is on top of it, and then I will stitch upside and then the two sides. After doing that, this is what I have, so I'll go ahead and notch this out. So another way you're supposed to do this is to first of all stitch the neckline, and then you top stitch on the lining part before joining the two sides. Okay, now I'll go ahead and turn this to the front part, and I'll go ahead to close the down part and the armhole part. So after doing that, I'll go ahead to hold the dart with half inch. So you see the place I notch for my dart, I'll go ahead to hold it with half inch. And this is how both back piece are looking. The next thing I'm going to do is to apply my zip. So I always make use of this invisible head zip. It's a gown zip because it's much more stronger. After placing my zip, this is what I have. I'll keep this aside. So because this is going to have like a sleeve, I'm going to loosen the armhole of the front piece. Okay, so when you are sewing the front piece, just go ahead and loosen. Don't sew the armhole part of the front piece when you are turning it with your lining. Okay, now this is it for the sleeve. To cut the sleeve, I'll go ahead and fold this by 4. I'm cutting both sleeves together, and I'll fold it again this way. Now I'll go ahead to measure the length of the sleeve. So the length of the sleeve is 24 inches. I'm just going to mark the point here. So from this point here, I'm going to take as my starting point, and then I'll come down by 5 inches. Now from this 5 inches here, I'm going to take her armhole circumference divided by 2, which is 17 divided by 2 give me 8.5. I'll mark the 8.5 here, and then I will use my ruler to connect it this way to the first line point here. Now after connecting it, the next thing I'm going to do is to divide this slant line here. I'm going to divide it by 2. So after getting the midpoint, I'll go ahead and connect it this way. So just watch closely what I'm doing. This is a very easy way to cut your sleeve. Now I'm going to be adding allowance of 2 inches. You can go ahead and add allowance of 1 inch. It depends on what you want or what your client wants. I'll take a wrist measurement divided by 2 will give me 6.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect it this way. So our wrist measurement is 13 inches divided by 2 is 6.5. Now I just went ahead to add the allowance there of 2 inches, and then I mark it this way. So after doing that, I'm just going to cut this out. So when cutting, leave half inch stitching allowance at this top part here to join it with the top itself. Okay, now go ahead and notch the middle point, and this is all for the sleeve. As you can see, very simple. Now I'll go ahead to place the front piece and the back piece, right side facing right side, to join the shoulder part. Okay, so I'm just pinning this down. I'll go ahead and sew with half inch on both sides. Now after doing that, I'm going to be placing the sleeve. I'll go ahead and place the middle point of the sleeve to the joining of the top. Okay, so I'll place it this way, right side facing right side, and then I will pin all round till I get to the end of the back piece and the end of the front piece for the armhole area. Okay, now another way you can actually fix your sleeve is by joining the top piece, then later you join the sleeve, and then you attach it together, separate. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to explain here, but I feel like this is much more easier, especially for beginners. So after pinning, I'll go ahead and sew with 1/2 inch all round. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other sleeve as well. Now after I was done attaching both sleeves together, this is what I have. You can see this is very easier. So when I want to shape this, I'll just shape it once from the sleeve down to the skirt part of the dress. Okay, now this is the skirt part of the dress. I didn't show how I cut this out. Okay, now I'm going to be posting how to cut this, but I'm going to be using like an ankara to do that. But before doing that, you remember the front side of this dress, we don't normally take that on it, so I'm just going to minus the that we do not normally take because of the attachment of the basque waist line top. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and minus it this way. That is the 1 inch that I'm supposed to take at the front piece is what I minus at the side. Now after doing that, I've gone ahead to use my lining and turn the skirt part of the dress. I'm going to get the middle point of the front piece, and then I'll go ahead and open this up. Remember, there is no dart taking for the front piece, okay, only the back piece. Now I'll go ahead and rule a straight line on the middle points all the way down a bit. Now I'm going to bring the top piece, so the front piece, I'm going to make the middle point of the front piece to be touching the middle point of the skirt piece. That is the front skirt piece. Okay, so I'll go ahead and make sure that they are both overlapping with 1/2 inch stitching allowance. Okay, and then I'll make sure the middle point of the top piece is matching the middle line on the skirt front piece. So I'll go ahead and make sure both sides are overlapping with 1/2 inch. Okay, now after doing that, I'll go ahead and pin this down, and then I will use my chalk to mark, to trace that basque waist line on the skirt part. So if you notice, the skirt part is not bigger or wider than the top part. Okay, this is because I already minus that we are not going to take for the front piece. That's the reason why both sides are accurate. Okay, now go ahead now to trace this way. So after I'm done tracing the basque waistline on the skirt front piece, I'll go ahead and open this, then I'll go ahead to stitch on that line. So after I'm done stitching on that line, that basque waistline, I'll go ahead to cut this out, leaving 1/2 inch stitching allowance. So just watch what I'm doing here. So if you notice, I'm not cutting on the line I have my chalk. I left 1/2 inch stitching allowance. Okay, now after doing that, I'm going to bring my top part, that is the front piece. I'm going to place it right side facing right side this way. Okay, the middle point facing the middle point on the skirt, but I'm going to notch this a bit. Now this will help me to be able to place this properly. Okay, now I will start pinning. I'm going to pin one side first, and then I'll sew it, then I'll pin the other side before I sew it. So I'm going to sew one side first before the other side. Okay, you cannot sew it at once. You have to sew one side first before you sew the other side. So after I was done pinning and sewing the first side, I'll go ahead to start pinning the other side as well. And after pinning it, I'll go ahead to sew with 1/2 inch. So after I was done sewing both sides, this is what I have. You can see how nice and lovely this came out. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach the back skirt to the back piece of the top. Okay, so I'll go ahead and place it right side facing right side, and then I'll sew one side first. But before I do that, I'm going to unzip it. Okay, so now I'm going to place this right side facing right side this way. So just I'm going to be opening the part I also close for the zip for the skirt part. I'll go ahead now and notch the zipper allowance of the top. I'll make sure the zipper allowance of the top and the skirt, they are aligning before I go ahead to close the to join the two piece with half inch. I'll repeat the same process for the other side as well. That is the other back piece as well. Okay, so after I'm done joining the back piece together, I'll go ahead and shape the two sides with the allowance I left while I was cutting it. And this is all for this tutorial. The major target or goal for this tutorial is just the basque waistline, the um neckline, which is the Queen Anne neckline, and the cup part as well. So I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.